Welcome back, friends. Hope you're having a good week so far. It is winter, but not quite as bitter as we've experienced earlier in winter. And so hope you're managing to get out, get that necessary exercise. Don't stay inside for too long, as tempting as it might be. And I also hope that you, like us here at First St. Andrews, are finding ways to welcome the light that is slowly coming back into our lives, little by little. Of course, this last Sunday was the Sunday that we celebrated Epiphany, which was a day recognized by the church just a little bit earlier in the week. The last day of Christmas, of course, being 12 days, and then the day following January the 6th is Epiphany. So we acknowledged that this last Sunday, and we did focus on light a bit. But as you might recall, if you tuned into the service or were physically present, I thought it was important to speak about different kinds of darkness into which this light of Christ shines and with which this light of Christ is in relationship. So the two kinds of darkness that I spoke about were the natural darkness that is required for rest and renewal and the germination of certain seeds, the kind of darkness that is there at the beginning of all creation in the Tehom, the formless, the abyss, that creative, generative darkness that is an essential part of all that is created, all that is, right? And the light of Christ is in a kind of relationship, a dance, if you will, cosmically, with that darkness. So we celebrate that darkness, and we're not trying to eclipse that darkness. We're not trying to dispel it. We want to be in right relation with it. In fact, one could say, I didn't anticipate sharing this, but with as many lights as we have on in our world today, especially in certain urban areas, you don't get a chance to appreciate all that the darkness is trying to reveal. And you also don't get a chance to actually help your other beings in the ecology that you share, because I received a notice on my door not too long ago that being a bird city, that if too many people have their lights on and there's too much light in the city, it affects the birds' navigation patterns and practices. And so I've made it a point to make sure I turn lights off before going to bed. And so there are a number of ways in which darkness is a beautiful, revelatory, necessary part of our lives. And yet I also spoke of this other darkness, and I think that is the darkness that we do have to take aim at and come to an understanding of, because it is a darkness that we have to resist and which threatens our every move as people of faith who are trying to follow in the footsteps of Jesus. That is the darkness of militarism, greed, poverty, ecological devastation. That which we see, that which we know is happening on a daily basis is woven into the structures of our world, sadly. That is the darkness that wants to steal the mornings that are really inseparable from the beautiful darkness of the night before and the earliest of the morning, right? That beautiful transition period. This other darkness wants to steal that from us. It does not want us to be in right relationship. In fact, this other darkness, this false darkness, as I said on Sunday, wants to steal relationship itself from us. It wants us to live in fear. It wants us to be suspicious of other humans. It wants us to not have any regard for all our relations, for the human, non-human, the flora, the fauna, all that is that allows us to be. This other kind of darkness wants us to look another way, does not want us to pay attention to that, and in doing so wants us to have an impoverished form of life. So to that darkness, we are called to respond emphatically, prophetically, boldly, saying that the light of Christ is here, lives within each of us, and that we will stand, we will walk, we will join hands, we will come together, and we will bear witness to that light, even if it means putting ourselves at risk, which of course every Christian in Christian history has had to do at one time or another. Putting ourselves at risk is not something that we are eager to do, but we know that with the machinations of the powers that be, the ways of this world at present, whenever you follow a certain light, namely the light of Christ, you can't help but put yourselves at risk, because that following of the light is a threat to this darkness that wants to steal and take over and destroy. This light is about warmth and belonging and belovedness and connection. It is the light of possibility and promise, and it anchors us and guides us forward. But this other darkness is going to be there, wanting to threaten, to destabilize, and to paralyze us ultimately. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to have days where that darkness just feels louder than ever before. Maybe you've had some of those recently. I know I have. But I'm here to say today in this postscript, and we will continue to say for the rest of this year at First St. Andrews, that we are witness bearers, light bearers. This space that we create and are a part of is welcome to all people. We are creating a place to belong and to connect and to grow and to experience transformation. And we will continue to do that. And we will continue to pray for our loved ones, our siblings in spirit who are in the United States and other parts of this world that are gravely threatened right now by this other kind of darkness. So I invite you to pray with all our siblings and all our relations the world over today and every day, and continue to stand as you already are doing, because we do go forward not alone, but with the God that accompanies us everywhere. May it be so. Amen.